As we're coming into the end of the year, I'm going to share a practice with you that I started, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And it is picking a word of the year. I never do New Year's resolutions because they don't usually work for most people. And I have ongoing goals, but I do make a word for the year. And I started this practice after reading the book called One Word. It's a really short book, so if you find it, it's just a real quick read if you want to really get in depth about creating your word and what all it does. But basically, you get really quiet and you take some alone time, no phone distractions, no music, no TV, nothing. Take some alone time. And you think, if you're someone who believes in praying, you can pray for your word. If you're someone who doesn't, you can just try to create some white space where nothing's going on, where maybe a word pops into your head. But you think about some things that are important to you in the coming year, and maybe some things that you've been wanting to make happen in your life, or that you do want to make happen in the coming year. And usually some words will come to mind. Sometimes I have a word pop into my head and I'm like, oh, I think this might be my word for the year. Sometimes it doesn't turn out being my word for the year, because sometimes a better word pops into my head before the end of the year. So for the last year, my word was create. And that word had just popped into my head. I didn't know why I picked that word, but I did pick that word. And in 2022, one of the things I created was my YouTube channel and these videos that I'm continuing to create. And the word came into play in creating better relationships in my life, creating more peace in my life, creating more fun in my life. Like, it came into play in many, many ways. The year before, my word was intention, and that played out. I've had many, many words really play out in my life. So it's a fun thing to do. And what you want to do is, once you come up with your word, and I think one of my clients showed me last year, they found, like, on Instagram, a list of words that were potential words, or I'm sure you can Google potential words for one word. It's ideal if you just have something come into your mind, but maybe you want to look at a list to kind of get started. So once you have your word, you write it down, you post it somewhere in your house. It doesn't have to be cute. When my word was intention, I actually painted the word using a helpful stenciling technique on canvas, and I hung that up in my office. Last year, I just wrote down my word and put it in multiple places to remind me that that was my word. So you can do something cool. You can make it look artsy and hang it in your house, like when I did the canvas, or most years I've just written it out on a piece of poster board or cardstock and hung it somewhere in my house. You can keep it in your car. You can make it the screen background on your phone. You can do all kinds of things. It's good to have your word all around so you can see it. It's also fun to enroll other people in your life into doing a one word, and you guys can even get together and make your word into some art. You can print it off on the printer, whatever you want to do. And then what you do is you pay attention to your word throughout the year, and you pay attention to when you hear the word being used. Maybe you hear it in a song. You pay attention to how it plays out in your life. One year I had the word strength, and that was a really rough year. And I just kept looking at that word and being like, okay, I can make it through this year. I have strength. And I really focused on that word. And honestly, if that hadn't been my word that year, it would have made it much harder to make it through that year. And the crazy thing is, I picked that word before I knew that any of the stuff that was going to happen was going to happen. So it played out in a really big way in my life. So think about the word you want. And if you already know your word, if you're someone who does this regularly, comment with what your word is for 2023. Thank you for joining me today for the Rebecca Reset, where every day we reset your mind so you can be better, do better, and get the life you love. Please like and subscribe.